Welcome back for another episode of Dream Up on KABF 88.3 FM in Little Rock, Arkansas. It's the show where everyone has a story to tell about how they achieved their dreams, from celebrities to experts to average Joes and Janes. And tonight, our special guest is a very successful Christian rock songwriter for the 90s and 2000s band Caedmon's Call, who's come back from a 2-decade break away from the music industry to release his debut solo album, AARON TATE.
Yay! Yeah. So glad he's with us tonight. This is great. This is great.
Yeah.
He's got an interesting story too. I mean, I can't wait to get in and see what his adventures were, because they sound like it was incredible.
Yeah, he's also traveled the world doing all sorts of aid to people troubled all over the world.
That's kind of what I was hinting towards, Carl.
Awesome. Well, I'm one of your co-hosts, Carl Double.
I wasn't too sure.
Kozlowski, because I'm supersized and want a double portion of blessings from the Lord. And with me are my co-hosts from Los Angeles.
I'm Ron, the mirthful married man Pierce, and that just tells you the whole story. Mirthful, I tell jokes, I'm a comic. Married man, I am, and I got 2 kids, and man, am I exhausted.
And from Las Vegas for the first time after moving from Los Angeles, we have
Antonio. I can get you in Delgado in the house. What's up, fellas?
I can get you in. That's the best nickname ever for you, man, because you can get us into parties. You always have these crazy parties that are fun. You can get anyone, because you're an immigration lawyer and an immigrant, you can get them into the country, and you've gotten all of us in trouble before. So
there you go,
can get us in.
And I can get you out on ball.
You must be working like quadruple overtime with all the people on the border right now. Oh my gosh.
But has that made a difference in your business?
No, it hasn't. It hasn't at all.
Wow.
Yeah, the people that are legal, that are trying to be legal, those are the ones that go to him. So
I guess that's true. I guess that's true. Well, Antonio, you're an immigrant yourself, right? Tell us about your story. You grew up in El Salvador.
I grew up in El Salvador, first in my family to, come to the U.S. and go to college, graduate
from
high school.
How old were you when you came here?
I was 7 years old. I was a young kid running away from the Civil War in El Salvador.
What was that like in El Salvador with the Civil War?
Not much different than South LA when I arrived here. Not much different than South Central LA.
Yeah.
Both dangerous places is what you're saying.
but I'm so grateful. I'm so lucky. Today I was just thinking about it. Man, I grew up in Los Angeles in a 1-bedroom apartment with me, my brother, and my mom. That's how we grew up.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, I now live in a house in Las Vegas with 5 bedrooms, and I'm like, this is too much space for me. I really can't handle it. It's just too much.
Watch out! I'm coming over. Yeah.
But it's just funny. I'm like this animal that's used to living in a small cage, and now I'm free, and it feels kind of odd. It's so weird, but yeah,
that's
I'm just
great.
like,
so you finally got kind of what your dreams are, right? I mean,
you know what's crazy, Ron? I really think everything we want, we get. Everything we want, we get. Absolutely everything. But the way that we try to equate it is like everything we consciously we want, we get. But that really doesn't happen sometimes. But if you think about it, how if you consider the environment, everything on conscience, everything we pray for, eventually everything holistically, we end up getting everything we want. And I'm so blessed and grateful that everything I've ever dreamed of making come true has actually come true. And
probably beyond your wildest dreams. I mean, you used to tell me in high school, you didn't think you were much and were capable of much, but then you go, oh, my buddy, who's another doofus like me, his dad's a lawyer. My other buddy's dad's a doctor. Well, I can be like, if this is what they're spitting out, I'm as good as they are. And that's what actually gave you the confidence to go to college and to law school. Is that correct?
So true, Ron. So when I grew up, I barely graduated through high school. I mean, barely. They just graduated me to get me out of there, basically.
Hey, we can graduate you from this show and get you out of here too if you want.
But I'm so grateful. But I met some friends who had lawyer parents, doctor parents, and I realized that there wasn't anything like not supernatural about them. They were just human beings like me, and I gave that brought me a little bit closer to that level. And eventually, here I am, lawyer with offices all over the US, and I couldn't ask for more. I really couldn't.
Yeah, that's great.
Congratulations, man. That's
Yeah.
a great story.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
story.
Well, how about I jump into the week's news? That'd be
Let's go
good.
for it, Carl. Let's hear it.
All right. So every week we like to spotlight a couple of stories that involve people's dreams, whether they're work out or whether they're complete disasters. And so now it's time for the news. So this week we're leading off with a disaster of all massive proportions. There's a Russian MMA fighter named Kirill Tarishin, and his dream was to pump his arms up to look like Popeye, the sailor, like those bloated giant forearms. And basically, he injected himself with petroleum jelly, and it inflated his arms to the point where his biceps are 24 inches in diameter, 2 feet.
Yeah.
But now it's tearing apart at his muscles, and it's spreading throughout his body and could kill him with all sorts of horrible side effects. So he's scrambling to get the silicone or the petroleum jelly removed from his body. But they're saying that because of COVID, they have to delay some of the surgeries. So his life's in the balance because of this crazy thing he did. So I don't know what you guys think about that. And what is like something crazy you've done for your dream over the years?
Well, that is insane. He's injecting himself with petroleum jelly till have you guys seen the pictures?
Yeah,
it looks insane.
Yeah.
Well, I bet he never suffers from diaper rash anymore, though. I bet.
I'm glad I didn't know this existed when I was younger, or else I might have been injecting myself too in other places.
Yeah. I was gonna say a whole other body part. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I figure a spray tan is about as far as I'll go, or maybe the guy who'll shave the six-pack spraying on my stomach. I mean, look, life is about making hard decisions, right? So, you either hard, do the work to get the six-pack, or easy, just drink the six-pack. I mean, you can go either way.
That's what I've done. Yeah.
No, but he goes to show that anything easy actually comes up, it has a high price, right? Because he thought, oh, I'm gonna get these giant biceps the easy way, and man, is he gonna pay a high price for it, right? He can lose his arms, is that right?
I mean, yeah, they said amputation of arms, and I found the rest of the list. They said that other side effects include blockage of the it's so bad, blockage of the pulmonary artery, myocardial infarction of the heart, stroke, nerve cell damage, and infections. Basically everything I've overcome. But still, it's just, I mean, God,
your rap sheet looks longer than that, Carl. So
yeah.
But speeding up, you're actually injecting it into yourself. Really? I mean, I bet there's a whole new line of junkies out on the street. Hey man, you got any Vaseline? No, man, no. What I got is way better. Aquaphor.
Oh my God.
Oh,
but I mean, is there anything insane that you guys have ever tried in your life, like thinking that it would pay off as a good goal?
Juggling, practicing juggling.
That definitely didn't pay off, Ron.
Yeah.
Only made a career out of it.
Yeah.
Only paid for that beautiful house behind you with juggling. That's always impressed me, man.
Well, it's kind of crazy, right? From a street performer to this, it's I feel blessed. But you know what? Here's the story and how it ties into this story. To actually be a world-class juggler, which is what I did, the amount of hours you have to put in before you're good or before you're great is so many. So you pay up front. And this guy was, no, he's going to go sideways, not do the work of lifting the weight to build the bicep, to be the bodybuilder. I'm just going to inject myself. And obviously got addicted to it because it went way overboard.
You're right, Ron. Yeah. You pay the back end and you pay with interest too.
Damn. It's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, what the one thing I can think of in my respect that I could hope would be a teachable moment, as Obama would say, is that like in 2016, 5 years ago, I was teaming up with this guy that I didn't know that well. It was just somebody I met at a John Hughes double feature, the filmmaker. And we hatched the idea of doing this big 30th anniversary celebration of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And I knew all these contacts in Chicago because I used to live there and write about movie business. And we got permission from the city of Chicago to restage the parade from that movie with up to 10,000 tickets available to be sold along that same street. Everything
Huge.
we would have recreated, and we made worldwide headlines when we announced it. And then I wound up screwing up because I never got a contract from the guy, and I set up all that stuff, and then he kicked me out of the project. And I had to learn the hard way. I wound up screwing him back in other ways with it, and it didn't turn out as well.
You ended
as it
up
could
doing
have.
what to him?
I said I got him back
Oh,
because
Because vengeance is always a good route to go.
I mean, what? I'm not going
Yeah.
to let the guy stage this amazing
what
thing
a
and become a
beautiful
millionaire off
feel-good
of my
story,
work.
Carl.
Well, that's what lawsuits are for, Carl.
Well, yeah, exactly. But that's well, I did try that, and he got away with it somehow. But the lesson being, whatever you do in business, if it's a big thing, you got to get a contract. You have to like really look out.
And
for
that ties
stuff.
in with the last story. How?
Inspection?
I'm just saying that was the craziest thing that I ever tried to pull off, and I blew it.
Oh, okay, but
So, okay.
yeah, okay, all right.
I was asking what y'all's craziest attempt at a dream, but anyway.
Oh,
but,
gotcha.
Got it,
Okay,
got
yeah.
it.
Okay, too much explanation. But let's move on to the
Let's
next
move on,
story, I
Carl.
guess. Okay, so our lead story 2, Electric Boogaloo, this is a good one. In New Zealand, police have arrested a pair of men who were trying to enter the capital city of Auckland with $100,000 in cash, 3 buckets of KFC fried chicken, 10 tubs of coleslaw, and an undisclosed quantity of fries. In other words, a dinner for me on any Tuesday. But they also had a number of empty ounce bags. And the reason that this was illegal is that New Zealand has one of the strictest anti-COVID policies in the world and has banned all restaurants and takeout orders as part of that. They face 6 months in prison and a $10,000 fine. I've heard of getting THC by the ounce, but KFC? And I guess this is another way of getting fried. But how fresh could this chicken be? It's not like KFC is a gourmet experience in the best of circumstances. But so what do you guys think of this, and how does it compare with LA's crazy COVID restrictions?
I can't even believe that that's a crime. That's insanity. You know what? And for Carl, that's like them making your life's dream illegal.
I know.
$100,000 and all the KFC you want. Carl, I think you should put that on your vision board right now. Visualize it and make it happen. 100,000 cash and all the KFC you want.
Carl would be the Pablo Escobar of KFC.
It's more like a quintuple portion or quintuple portion.
How is
Oh my
that?
gosh.
It's crazy what they consider a crime nowadays versus things people get away with. It makes no sense to me. I don't get it. And to be honest, that kind of logic gets in the way of people being able to dream up, really, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think?
I know we were laughing at this, guys, but man, personally, we live in some scary times, I think, for that to be something that someone gets arrested for. I think a lot of people are just hoping that if you just keep complying, if you don't buy your KFC, if you stay home, and that eventually this will go away and we'll go back to normal. But I don't think history has shown us that to be true, my friend. So I don't know what people need in order to stand up for themselves, to be honest. If not being able to get food is not enough, I don't know what will be. I really don't know.
You know what's interesting? It is Australia. So I can see him going, right, chicken, no, it's illegal, go in jail. If he would have been smuggling in beer, they would have been, all right, mate, come on in. This is great. He's got beer, mates.
I wonder when they're going to really revolt. I think they've also limited alcohol, haven't they, in Australia? Haven't they limited alcohol?
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy is, not to get ultra political about this, but I mean, kind of hard to avoid. Over in Australia, they've somehow convinced all the people to give up all their guns a few years back, and everybody thought, oh, great idea. And then now they're being, you're going to prison for things like this. and cops are going door to door, like checking to see if you're enforcing your COVID restrictions. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what's funny is that so apparently going to Outback in the Outback is illegal.
Oh man. Well, if that's a crime, let me be guilty.
Yeah, and if the cop came up to me, and I had all that KFC, he'd go, "All right, you're under arrest." I go, "This is a knife."
Well,
Wow.
Australia did start off as a colonial prison, right? I guess they're just going back to the original idea.
They're going
Yeah,
back to their roots. I'm going to be like great grandpa.
exactly. Well, hey, I want to do one more piece here before we get to our guest. Our third time's the charm story. We like to spotlight people when possible who are doing heroic things. This is kind of a serious story, but we're carried in Columbus, Ohio as well. And this is actually a woman in Columbus, Ohio, is raising awareness of human trafficking in Appalachia. And her name is Christy Scott Bartman. And she's actively involved in spreading the word about the dangers of what's going on with human trafficking of children and I guess as well as the adult issue of sex trafficking and all that. And just really doing heroic things, getting the word out there to people and making them think about these things. And I think that it's always good when a citizen takes a stand and tries to say, instead of just hearing about it on the news, or, it always seems so distant when you hear an expert talk about it. But I think having somebody in your own backyard who you might know as a neighbor or a friend who has the guts to say, hey, let's pay attention to something that's wrong. I think that's
scared
really
me for a minute, Carl. You said you have somebody in your backyard. I think you should let them go.
Well, yeah, I'm trafficking. Okay, you got me. Yeah, but anyways, any thoughts about that?
So I didn't know this. Is this an issue in Appalachia? Is it really that big of a deal?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because I mean, the whole Appalachia is incredibly poor, and they have huge drug problems with opioids and things like that. So a lot of people are, in desperate times, they're being kidnapped or agreeing to be sold, selling off their friends and family, to settle drug debts. It's crazy.
Oh, that's something I hadn't considered. You're right. Wow, I didn't think of that. Yeah, so it's not international. It's more like local people who get taken advantage of. Then, right?
Yeah.
Because they have a weakness. Yeah, people prey on their weakness, right? So I think it happens a lot to maybe foster kids when they age out of the system.
Right.
It happens to drug addicts. It happens to just certain people who are already predisposed to having issues, and it's very sad. I love it when people stand up like that, take a stand and do something. Imagine if everybody had a single cause, and you'd find all those people that were in your cause, and imagine the damage against all the ills of the country we could do, overnight, with everybody having something that they were passionate about and work like. So I applaud her. I think she's awesome. She's like Dream Up Hero of the Week, right?
Yep. And what she actually did was she created a group called Eyes Up Appalachia, and she encourages people. It's kind of the principle: see something, say something. If you see that something seems to be not right and kosher going on somewhere, then alert the authorities and get things handled properly.
I've got another idea to help the opiate problem there. We now just ask everybody to shoot up petroleum jelly in their arms.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea, Ron.
Great callback, Ron. That was beautiful.
Exactly. All right. Well, hey, I think it's time for our guest. All right, our guest tonight. He was one of the lead songwriters of the Christian rock band Caedmon's Call, which had 4 #1 Christian radio hits and sold over 2 million copies of their CDs.
2 million.
I know, 2 million. Crazy. And he has spent the past 20 years working for nonprofit and humanitarian aid groups all over the planet, but now has his debut solo CD, Midlife, fresh out everywhere. Give it up for AARON TATE.
AARON TATE, welcome to the show, Aaron. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's incredible to be here.
Yeah, so what's funny is we had not been in touch hardly at all in many years. AARON is one of my best friends from college and into a few years of adulthood. But we just kind of, I don't know, life gets in the way and we live in different parts of the country and we hadn't been that much in touch. And then I heard about this album coming out and I was very excited to see him, taking his swing, showing his own talent, putting it out there on his own. I thought that was really, really great. So anyways, okay.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Aaron, do you have a quick story from college of you two?
I've got the thing that I will always remember about Carl is that he was
a buffet. I'm gonna put $10 down that he's gonna have a buffet.
No, I put on weight later. Anyway.
Okay.
It's actually a great story about Carl, and I'm sorry it's not embarrassing about him. He was on the school paper, and he got a press pass to go to the U2 concert when it was in Dallas. And this was the U2 concert where Bono had a camera on stage, and he was filming the audience, and it was all I think it was probably Action Baby.
Oh yeah. Wow.
And he put the camera right on Carl. And so Carl's face was all over the big screen at the U2 show. And that was pretty cool. And then the other thing I remember about Carl is that when he was first getting into comedy, he did stand up in Chicago. And we were some of the faithful friends that would come and see him do stand up.
Oh, yeah.
And open mic stand up in Chicago is rough, but we were there for you, Carl.
You actually went with me one time to a gig that I had in Milwaukee. Even I think you guys came with me. So yeah, that was cool.
And now it's our job to do that. That was me and Ron that goes to those shows now.
Yeah. But I gotta say about the Bono thing, it actually was a little embarrassing because what happened was everybody in my friend circle just about they heard I was going to be on stage taking pictures for my school paper. And so many people, I think I had seriously 8 disposable cameras attached on rubber bands to my arm and the one school camera, right? Like an official old style, flashing, professional camera, flash bulb and everything. And I take all the shots with the disposable cameras for people. And then the final 30 seconds or so, we were allowed 3 songs with him in front of us. And when I finally started taking pictures with the school camera, it would not work. And I couldn't get the flash to go off. And so I'm panicking and I'm mouthing to him, please, please, please just stand there. And he kept singing even better than the real thing over and over. Well, I can't even get my real camera to work. And then he finally, just as he's about to explode laughing, I get the flash bulb went off. And he just danced away, but he seriously was about to lose it, right in front of me. So.
Wow, good story, man. Good story. Wow.
Yeah. So, Aaron, so you've been involved in music for how long? Was this something you did starting as a child or a teenager, or when did you get into writing your own songs and all that?
That's a great question. So my dad loved music and was a musician, just an amateur musician in college, playing in college parties and stuff. And when I was a kid, he put me in some piano lessons. And he said he was convinced after, a couple of weeks that I had no musical talent at all. And so gave up on that. And so I didn't do any music until college. I'm sorry, actually the end of high school, when early 90s, folk was really starting to get popular, and I picked up a guitar, my dad's old guitar, and started learning how to play. And so it wasn't until I was 18 that I really did anything musical. And then by the age of 19,
going to be the new Tracy Chapman is what you were going to be.
I was trying. That was exactly the kind of stuff that was inspiring. Tracy Chapman and Indigo Girls. Yeah. And I started writing songs actually because I wasn't as good of a guitar player as other people. So other people would, be playing Stairway to Heaven. And I was like, I can't do that. So I'm just going to make up my own songs. And that's how it started. And then within a few years, I was.
What city were you in?
So I went to school in Fort Worth. We were at
Oh.
TCU in Fort Worth.
Yeah, Texas Christian. Yeah.
But that was high school too?
High school here in Houston.
Oh, so you grew up in Houston and then went up to TCU. Horned
Exactly.
Frog, right? The Horned
Exactly.
Horned Frogs, baby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That school's
Yep.
rocking now.
Yeah.
I know tons of kids from my neighborhood here in California that go to TCU. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Matter of fact, one of my good friends' sons just went for his freshman year and he's in the marching band. So another musician at TCU. There you go.
There you go.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
So who were what was you mentioned the Indigo Girls, Tracy Chapman. Was there any other big influences on you, or what did you draw your inspiration from when you were writing songs? Was it Christian based at that time, or was it all sorts of things, or what?
It was kind of a combination. There were some Christian musicians I was listening to for sure. And
Billy Graham, not much of a singer, but really good, really good.
Who's that?
I said Billy Graham, not much of a singer, but really good. And he has a Southern accent, so it made me.
Yes, for sure. One of my biggest influences was a guy named Pierce Pettis, actually, that is not very well known, but was a big influence for me. And I actually, when I was in Fort Worth, I wanted to meet him and talk to him about songwriting. And he was playing in Fort Worth, but it was a 21 and up show.
Yeah.
And so I went, I wasn't 21 at the time. So I went to the venue in the afternoon and I caught him when he was going out to his car and I invited him out. I said, can I take you to lunch? And we ended up going to lunch and he gave me some songwriting advice that actually changed me and really formed the kind of songwriting I created. So he was
What did he say to you? What did he say? Because first of all, it's such a great story that you went after somebody that you admired. You got them to basically mentor you over a conversation and you listened to what they said, obviously. Yeah. And that's like such a good formula for success in life, So tell us what he said.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look back at that and multiple times in my life have been that.
Aaron, it'd be great if you just said, yes, he said to me, I before E except after C. That's it.
Yeah, he did. He said to tune the guitar, actually. I didn't realize that. I was very new to this stuff. And
the fundamentals.
What he said was, in some ways, not that profound necessarily, but it was for me. He said that what he tries to do is he tries to take really serious lyrics, really meaningful lyrics, and put them with the most upbeat, most catchy sounds and tunes and melodies possible, so that people start singing along with the song, and then later realize it's actually a really serious song. And at that time, I was writing serious music, but I thought, oh, it's serious. It has to be very quiet and dark and sort of goth, And then I went back and I literally took the same songs and just said, how do I make these upbeat and get people to listen to them? And keep the lyrics that are still heavy and profound and complex.
You say that, and the first thing that jumps into my mind is the Smiths. The Smiths was exactly that. Just these happy, girlfriend in a coma.
Oh, exactly.
In a coma, I know, it's serious. It's just a happy, upbeat song. Sing about your girlfriend in a coma. It's crazy, but that's great advice. Dichotomy of things for art. So what did you major in college at TCU?
I majored in history and education.
And then you did it again. You know why?
Why?
Because history repeats itself. Come on, that was a long way to go for that. It took you guys forever to even say why.
That was good. That was good.
Aaron, so after you heard the advice, did you see the impact? Was there an impact in the way people heard your music?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think what distinguished Caedmon's Call's music that I wrote was that it was very, upbeat. It was very much the kind of songs that people were singing along to. And then those who really wanted to dig into the lyrics, would get the lyric and the lyric books back when we had old CDs, and they would read the lyrics and they would realize there was a lot of complexity and a lot of, a lot of interesting lyrics in there, really dealing with some of the challenges of life. And so, that definitely made the band honestly really what it was.
When you write a song, do you write the words first or the melody first?
I always do the words first. To me, lyrics are first, and I spend so much time on lyrics, and then once the lyrics are done, the music is less time.
And tell me how often do you get inspired? Do you have a regular regimen of I'm going to do it this often and do this? Or do you just wait for inspiration and then work towards that goal? And that's the way I do with comedy. I sit flat for a while until I get inspired, and then I'll work really hard on those ideas until I get them perfected. And then I sit around and wait to get inspired again. And sometimes it's immediate, sometimes it takes a while. But what's your angle?
Yeah, I'm definitely very sporadic. I mean, I might, I get random ideas in the middle of the day. I write them down on a notebook, and I kind of collect little pieces, like little, collecting little Lego pieces until finally I have enough to put them together and to create something. And then once I have like the basic creation, I might say, okay, I need a few more, and then I can go and, write a few more specific lines to sort of fill it in. But I'm very, very, I've never been like someone who, like some of the Nashville songwriters who are like, hey, let's meet on Tuesday at 10 o'clock and let's write a song. That I'm just not that kind of writer.
It's funny. I have a comedy writing meeting tomorrow morning with 2 other comics, and we all get together with bits that we've already got a step down the road. And it just helps to get other sharp minds to tighten them up or take it another angle, or, but it's hard to find guys that are good at it and are regular with it. So sometimes you go for years without that group, and then sometimes, and I just found this group recently, so it's real good. It's exciting, but I'd like to hear that that's the way you create.
Yeah. How did you first meet? Like Derek Webb was the key figure in Caedmon's Call, right? So how did you guys first hook up? Was it at TCU or was it somewhere else, or what?
It actually goes back a little bit further than that, because Cliff Young was the guy that started the band. So Cliff was at TCU. He wanted to start a band. He needed songs. He knew that I wrote songs, and we got to know each other in the dorm. And he said, hey, will you join my band? And so I did, and I started sharing songs with him. And originally I was the other guitarist, but because as I said before, I wasn't a great guitarist. I contacted my old friend Derek Webb, who'd gone to high school with me, and said, you guys need to be, let's get Derek in the band, because he's a great guitarist, phenomenal guitarist, and he's also a great songwriter. And so that's how those connected. And then once Cliff and Derek connected, then I was contributing songs, and they were, performing them and really making the band take off.
Yeah.
Okay.
And speaking about making the band take off, when you're young, there's so many kids that are in bands, right? They're all in the garages and everything. What sets your band apart, or what sets a band apart that actually comes out ahead?
A great songwriter.
Great songwriter. Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of, that was a joke. It's kind of a joke.
Great.
That's a great question. And I asked that myself the same question after all these years. I think that I do think that we had talented artists working on it. I do think that the songs that I was writing and that Derek Webb were writing were right for that moment. This was the 90s. We were in the grunge era, the folk era. This was a time where people wanted to go deep and meaningful into music. It wasn't slick pop. It wasn't the Britney Spears and NSYNC part of the 90s. This was early 90s. So the songs are really crucial. But also, to be honest, Cliff Young is a great has a great sense of understanding a crowd and being able to find the sweet spot of telling the truth, but in a way that people want to can connect to it.
Yes.
Well stated, by the way. Well stated. That's really fascinating. Comedy's kind of the same way too, right? I love it. Keep going. I don't want to interrupt. I just want to give you kudos for the way you're describing that.
And I think that we hit we were very focused on like the college market. We mostly played at Christian colleges. And so you had a group of people that were very intellectual and were really interested in what I would say was our very intellectual take on Christianity. So those were some of the, some of the elements. And, I think, it was the right thing at the right time. And I think we were fortunate to take hold of that.
Where were you the first time you heard one of your songs on the radio?
I'll never forget. I was in graduate school at Wheaton College in Illinois. That was around the time that I was going and hang out with Carl and seedy comedy clubs.
Couldn't you get thrown out of Wheaton College for that?
Not as long as you don't dance and drink,
Okay.
So, but we, I was listening to the college radio station. I was wrapping Christmas presents, and all of a sudden, one of my songs came on the radio, and it blew my mind. I still, to this day, have no idea how the CD got to the Wheaton College radio station. I didn't give it to them.
Well, you went on to eventually have, 4 #1 hits. How did it feel the time you got your first #1 hit on the charts?
It was amazing. I mean, it was really surreal, particularly because it was a song that I wrote. I mean, I was never thinking about being on the radio when I was writing. And it was a song that I wrote that I just thought was just another song. And when we got signed and the record label said they were going to release it, I was surprised. And then, I mean, when it went to #1, it was just unbelievable. And then to have another one and another one, another one was even more amazing. And if I, just a bit of trivia about us. So we are the only, we were the only Christian band to get 4 #1 radio hits out of the same album in this shorter amount of time. And now it's even more rare to get that because radios are, what I understand is that radio stations are playing the same songs longer for a longer period of time. So for, instead of cycling through songs every 3 months or 4 months, they're keeping them on the charts. Things are staying on the charts longer. But anyway, it was a really incredible moment, to answer your question. And then to have others just kept blowing me away.
So then,
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Ron, if you have. I mean, so how did the time to wrap, for the band to, your association with the band to end, how did that come about, and what was the decision behind that?
Well, I think our band, I mean, we kind of ended like most bands do, with there's some, some personality differences, some power.
I hate you. I'm tired of you. I quit. Me too.
Yeah.
You were there. So, yes.
It's always the drummer that causes the problem first.
Come on, it's always the lead singer and the lead guitarist.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, if you've seen Straight Outta Compton, it was just like the breakup in Straight Outta Compton.
Was that story based on you guys?
Yeah, we're just a Christian version of that, really.
Wow.
So
Very different movie.
In all seriousness, I mean, there was that, but at the same time, I was interested in doing other things. I was interested in spending my time in other things. I wanted to go into full-time nonprofit work. And I also felt like as a songwriter, I was kind of reaching a point where I'd said everything I wanted to say. And I didn't want to be like one of those bands or one of those songwriters that was once good and then got embarrassingly bad as they aged. And so I said, I'm just going to walk away.
Does that happen a lot?
I think it does. I think there's so many people that have a favorite band and the first album's great. The second album's pretty good. The third album, eh. And then at some point, people, or at least me, I start thinking like, yeah, it's just not like it used to be.
Well, you know,
art is hard, man. Art is hard. It's hard to be consistently great. You can't bat 1,000% at anything. If you any art as a joke writer, if you bat 300, if 3 out of the 10 jokes you write survive, you're an all-time. You're in the Hall of Fame. It's just hard.
I interviewed I think one of the greatest albums, in my opinion, of my lifetime was Third Eye Blind's first album. They had like 6 top 10 hits on that album. It was a monster, right? And I got to interview, but then the next album they had like 1 or 2 hits, and then the third album had no hits, but they still survive off of that first one a lot, right? But I interviewed the lead singer, and he told me, I said, I'm very direct, sometimes a little too direct, and I said, so like, kind of, do you have any idea like what happened? Why people didn't respond as well to the next one and the next one? And he said that you get your whole life to write your debut album, but then you have to come up with something that everybody thinks will top it, and you get it 2 years to do it. And
the same thing happens in comedy with people's comedy specials. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
It's really tough. Art is hard, man. It's just, and I always respect, I'm just looking at you going, wow, this guy really did it. But you had a major shift in your life. You left that band and you said, I'm going out and doing, real work for other people. You decided to serve the world and work with nonprofits and mission groups. Tell us how that pivot happened and what it was like that first year. And did you ever say that first year, wow, I made a mistake here?
Yeah. So I had started, while I was still songwriting, I had started volunteering in a local organization in town here in Houston. And it was a hospice for people that were dying of AIDS. And it was a really intense experience. And it actually informed a couple of the last songs I wrote for Caedmon's Call. But I think a thread in my life is I've always wanted to, I'm very interested in people and engaging with people and sharing ideas. And I enjoyed doing that through songwriting, but at the end of the day, songwriting started to feel very, very alone, to be in my room and write a song and then just send it to the band. So as I started to get into, direct service to people, I just immediately loved it. And so I left the band. I looked for a new job. I found a job working with refugees and doing refugee resettlement here in Houston. And that was really my main entryway into that career. And I did that for 10 years. And then I did some other nonprofit work. And I didn't really look back, I think I was kind of burned out by the end of the time I was songwriting. And it really was about 8 years that I didn't even pick up a guitar.
Wow.
And honestly, it's only in the last 5 years that I've started to come back to really music and to really say like, yeah, those were some good times and I don't want to lose that part of my life. I want to reconnect with it.
Well, I was just to let people know, you were helping people in such countries as Tanzania and Haiti. You did a big thing involved after the 2010 Haitian earthquake. And just statistically, off your bio, it said that you worked with Church World Service and you guys built and repaired 493 homes, funded 2,804 small businesses, delivered over 2 million relief supplies, supported over 1,500 school children, and provided loans to over 2,000 farmers. I mean, that's just amazing. So,
Thank you.
I mean, what was it like dealing with, because that was such a world famous trouble spot after that earthquake? I mean, any particular memory of something that stood out from dealing with all that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really intense experience. It was definitely the hardest assignment of my career. I'm not a first responder, so I was there about a month after the earthquake and started to work on the reconstruction projects. And the devastation after the earthquake was, of course, tremendous. And it was really hard because, everybody wants to help and they want to help everybody. But the only way to get through it is to focus on those you can help and do that work, and I did that for 3 years. And I think that I loved Haiti. It's an incredible country, incredible people, incredible culture. And all of our work was done by Haitian organizations that we would partner with. And so it was really amazing to see, to empower Haitians to rebuild their country.
Yeah. And Aaron, I love hearing this story, and I'm so glad we have you on board because I'm sure you don't know, my other part-time job is immigration attorney. So I deal with asylum cases and all those things. Yeah. Oh, wow. So, but I'm just passionate because I don't hear from your end very often, because all this asylum refugee stuff it's such a big monster, right? It's like it's just so many moving pieces, and I'm just so fascinated to hear your stories. But my question to you is, because did you feel like eventually, did you feel like, just like with music, did you feel a little bit burned out after seeing all that human tragedy, or were you able to stay centered and connected?
When I was in Haiti, I definitely I guess I would, you go through cycles of being burned out, but then you get reinvigorated by the work. It's interesting you mentioned asylum and immigration, because my most recent job for the last 2 years has actually been working with the US-Mexico border and helping asylum seekers with Church World Service. So we support border organizations all along the border. We also provide case management and fund some legal services for asylum seekers. So we get to have a whole conversation about that. Yeah, and actually, I think that work actually probably has been burning me out more than the Haiti work, because it's so intensely political and it's become so divisive in our communities. And I have, diverse family and friends, and it's hard not being able to share with. It's hard working in something that not all your family and friends support, which is welcoming asylum seekers to the United States.
I think that's why I asked you that question, because it feels me a little bit more not so, I don't feel as odd knowing that I'm not the only one that feels that way too. No, I hear you, Aaron. I hear you. Yeah.
Wow. So then what inspired you to take this big move and get back into writing and recording music, and finally taking your own shot with your new album, Midlife?
Well, someone shot at me. No, actually, it's true. So I was walking.
Welcome to Houston.
I was.
So it is the Compton movie that is based on you. I was kidding, but now it's true.
I was in my very gentrified neighborhood in Houston. I was walking back from a little Christmas market event at night, my wife and I, on the sidewalk 3 blocks from our house, and we got mugged at gunpoint. We really did. We did. Wow. And the person, the guy with the gun, had me get on the ground, and he pointed the gun 3 feet away from me, and he shot at the ground.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, I'm laughing about it because we made it. We were okay. They ran off and we ran off. And thank goodness, that we were fine. But that was one of the moments that said to me, okay, life is short. I want to make an album. That's something that's been kind of running around in my head for a while. Like I'd started writing songs again, but they were just sitting around in my notebook. I wasn't connected with the band anymore. And I was like, yeah, wouldn't it be cool, like, for me to sing my songs? And so it slowly started to build. And then it became something I really decided was my dream.
Well, you told me when we were talking before this that this album
took a gunshot to really inspire you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
It's a wake up call, that's for sure.
Somebody put a gun to my head. No, literally. So I did it.
But you were telling me that this album is just a general album of thoughts on life. I mean, you're personal, very personal to you, but it's not a so-called Christian album either. So how did you decide to make that kind of pivot in what you were putting out there?
Yeah, well, everything I wrote in the 90s for Caedmon's Call was 100% focused on a spiritual life and spiritual reflection. And I really, as I said, I liked that work. I was really proud of that work. And I felt like I'd finished that chapter. And, there were several things, but one of them was kind of going back to what I said earlier. I didn't want to make a sequel that wasn't as good as the original, and that also kind of ruined the original, where people say, oh yeah, the Matrix was good, but then they had to make the others or whatever,
Yeah.
And so that was part of my decision. Is I said, I'm done. I'm not going to try to write another Caedmon's Call song. I can't do it. They were good, but that's not what I want to do right now. And then I thought I was starting to write just for myself, different songs that were about relationships, not with God, but with other people. And I'd never really done that before, to tell you the truth. My Caedmon's Call songs were never about wife and children and family. And that's what I found myself writing about. And it was equally vulnerable and raw and honest, but it was different. And so I said, let me follow that. Let me do that.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I was listening to the album again today, and, I thought at first maybe you were writing all autobiographical songs of your own thoughts, but I think at least some of the songs you're just telling stories of other people, because I know you're still happily married to your college sweetheart, a dear friend of mine, Amy, but there's a couple songs there about relationships falling apart, right? So how do you come up with that mindset of entering a
Carl,
totally
that was you and
different
Aaron's relationship falling apart.
Exactly.
Talks about you, Carl.
It's about you, Carl. I didn't know you could run so far and so fast.
I really can't run at all. Come on, look at me. No, but how do you get that kind of inspiration? Because it was kind of like when I realized, wow, this isn't about you. At least some of them. It was making me think of one of my favorite albums, "Tunnel of Love" by Bruce Springsteen, and he imagines different relationships at different stages. It starts off hopeful and can't wait to meet this person and connect, and then by the end, it's like this sad thing of relationships falling apart, and he drifts off alone on the highway by himself at the end of the album. And some of these songs reminded me of that, and so anyway, it just really was fascinating to me to hear you take on like these other mindsets or whatever.
Yeah. And that's something I've started to do as I started to write in the last 5 to 10 years. I actually started with writing country songs, and because I'd written very autobiographical Christian songs, I said, if I'm going to write something new, I'm going to write the opposite. So I started writing fictional songs about, guys drinking beer in bars, trying to pick up women. And they were completely fictional.
That's a good country song, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't even like beer. So that's how my family and friends were like, that's definitely fiction, because he's drinking a Lone Star in the song.
Yeah.
But as I started to think more about it, I just decided I enjoyed trying to get in the mind of other people, and in the experiences of other people. So some of those songs,
stalking, by the way, Aaron.
Yes.
The restraining order is still in existence between you and Carl, so be careful.
Well, I'm well over the 400 yards that the court ordered. But some of the songs are about me. Some of them are loosely based on friends and people I knew, and then some are just stories that I created, but created to touch at something true about the world.
And you're still contrasting the melody, Aaron? Like, for example, if it's about happy love song, do you put some dark melody in there, or vice versa?
That's a good question. I've done a little of both on this album. So I have like a couple of songs, like I have this sad country song that is very slow and very sad, and everything about it is sad. But then the album starts with an extremely upbeat guitar part of a pop song that actually, one of my favorite bands is Fountains of Wayne, who wrote Stacy's Mom. And I actually got the lead guitarist from Fountains of Wayne to play lead guitar on my first song called, and it's called Midlife. And the song is about the struggles of being in the midlife in this time of our lives. But it starts off super happy. And the first lyric is, the midlife depression is now in session. The invited, you know who you are. And I just recently played my first concert. And when I played that lyric, which is a very sad statement, people were laughing because and that's what I'm going for. Like I'm going for, I'm going to bring you in with this upbeat song and I'm going to hit you with something hard, but we can play with it. You know, we can indulge in it without necessarily it taking us to a dark place.
People laugh because it strikes a true chord, right? So all comedy is truth, you know, and comedy is actually tragedy plus time. And so when you're going into dark things, you're connecting to a tragedy. They're probably relating to it in such a interesting way. And then the way you frame it with your words really obviously touches something. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Well, so what's really cool also is that you can find this, how technology has changed over the years. That I mean, I went to my Amazon music library and I found AARON Tate, Midlife, you know, right after listening to, like, I think it was listening to Tunnel of Love right before. And then, so that's pretty amazing that, you know, how things work, that you can just be everywhere now, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's great. I mean, with one upload through a distribution company, it's on Spotify, it's on YouTube, it's on Apple Music, Pandora, Amazon, you know, wherever people listen to music, it's there.
And are you?
I got a question. I got a
ahead.
question.
Yeah.
Now, project yourself out 10 years. Where are you? What are you doing? Because you've gone down several different roads in your life. Tell me your dream 10 years from now. Dream it up for us, AARON.
Yeah, so I still love working in the nonprofit field. The next step I want to do is working overseas, actually. So I'm actually looking for opportunities to work outside of the United States again. But I'm also loving music, and so I would love 10 years from now to be still contributing in the nonprofit world, but also doing music, writing music, hopefully releasing music and performing music. And just having a good time with both of those things.
And
all right, well, AARON,
anything about catching the criminals that shot at you?
Yeah, I've given up on that.
well, hey,
and AARON, I'm always in Houston. Next time I'm there, my friend, we'll talk war stories. I'll have a beer and you'll have a tea, since you don't drink beer.
I drink
all
tequila.
right, well, hey, we're out of time, folks. So AARON, you can find AARON's music everywhere, like you just announced a minute ago. And we want to thank him for being our guest tonight. And we want to thank KBF 88.3 FM in Little Rock for giving us a home. Till next time, this has been Dream Up.